You must tell me about this fury.
Look, we've run for our lives.
The knights told us to come to you, to protect the people of Zaldar.
We're on the brink, and only our actions will ensure the future. Our kingdom.
We must all get ready now.
Goddamn. This is Dragon Kingdom, a movie with so many dragons even fucks on the Hobbit films, with only 3 minutes of footage of dragons. Now, as you may recall from my Knights of the Damned review, that it unfortunately had a sequel. Well, here it is, Dragon Kingdom, and oh boy, what a film it is. You know, regardless of where you go looking for it, most folks who work in the field of visual design will say how it is best to make designs simple. They say it's important to make works that catch the eye, communicate the ideas of the design, and visually articulate what the piece is about in the most simple way possible. But what do they know? Obviously, the best way to get a person's attention is to pack on as much cool shit as possible. I mean, look at this cover. It's got copy-pasted dragons, who look nothing like the real dragons in the movie. A big battle with people we know nothing about, and shit exploding everywhere while it's on fire, because the battle for the kingdom has begun. On the back of this DVD, we're told Chris Newman helped produce this film, but strangely enough, his name doesn't seem to be present anymore. Weird that. One interesting thing about this DVD is, at long last, we're not given an epic-length description about the movie. In fact, this particular copy of the DVD explains the film thusly. To save their kingdom from the Dark Lord's army, a group of warriors must travel through the Forbidden Lands to fight the fearsome monsters of the Dark Kingdom to save their king. That's it. That's the description. What are the Forbidden Lands? Why is it capitalized? I have no idea. Is that the name of the Dark Kingdom? Where are the Forbidden Lands in the 12 Kingdoms? I don't know. What I find funny is this bit of praise they took from Geek Legion of Doom, because they cleverly didn't include the full quote from his praise of this movie.
The threats of all these kind of dragons, this whole lot of Dragon Isle. So there's more dragons in the Hobbit movies combined. Well, actually, there's only one in there, so there you go.
Now, while the last DVD offered a rather lengthy and thorough description of the film's plot, this actually does about the worst job I've seen describing the actual story, mostly because it leaves out the key characters, how this movie relates to the last film, and all that stuff. I mean, they couldn't even include Fabian's name. He's just the Dark Lord. At least I think that's who they're talking about. Could be the Necromancer guy, but at this point, I guess it doesn't really matter. Unlike the last movie, this one got itself a brand spanking new distributor paired alongside High Flyer Studios called Uncorked. A company packed with so many masterpieces such as Spaghetti Man, more knockoffs than a back alley pawn shop, and the crown jewel of cinema, Sneezing Baby Panda, the movie.
Now that's a sneeze!
Like Knights of the Damned, this film has all the same issues as the first, from the terrible acting to the horribly paced plot, and a cheapness so distracting even China wouldn't put a label on it. However, despite having many of the same issues, Dragon Kingdom has its own set of unique problems. Problems we'll be going over as the film goes on. Once again, the cast and crew from the last film have united into a fellowship of schlock for this sequel in cinematic torture. So pop some caffeine pills and strap your eyelids open because, trust me, you'll need it. This is the the Dragon Kingdom. We open the movie to a 2-minute recap covering everything that happened in the last movie, because it's incredibly unlikely anyone would draw a connection between a movie like this and a movie that looks like this. I mean, they don't even have the same characters on this one's cover. Like, who is this? It's not Sir Darius. There's too much, hair. It's not Sir Stronk, because he's a Big Mac man, and this guy's closer to a value menu burger at best. It ain't Thomas or the Katori, so who is it? How are you supposed to know these two films are connected? It's mentioned in the credits these two movies belong to a series called The Order of Kings, so why not include that in the title? You know, help the audience out a bit by letting people know your films are related. Or perhaps this was the marketing genius of Uncorked and High Flyer Studios who, unlike those stupid Harry Potter and Star Wars movies and other fantasy properties that include pictures of the main characters with their series names on their covers, you know, those stupid movies. No, you see this party salad of visual design is truly A+ marketing in action.
Trampled by the dark army of fury and scorched by the dragon's breath, the peace and harmony between the 12 kingdoms of Nazroth is little more than a distant memory.
Why? Where were the other 11 kingdoms? What do they have to say about all of this? I guess we'll never know. Luckily, the film starts right where we last left off, with our heroes entering the village near the western castle. However, things seem eerily quiet amongst ye old information signs, metal storage sheds, and modern barbed wire. Knowing how my videos are styled, you might think these zooms were placed in by me, but you might be shocked to discover this is 100% ethically sourced Dragon Kingdom editing. The zooms happen at the strangest of times, not during tense moments or during reactions, they just sort of, it's a close-up now! I will be honest, it does make some moments unintentionally more hilarious, though most of the time it's just weird and distracting, but I digress. However, before anything important can begin, we're thrusted into an action scene. Whoa, whoa, look at them go! Whoa, whoa, shoo! Oh my god, oh my god. Here's Sir Strunk, Slayer of Karens. However, as they manage to kill the Fury, who not but a few days ago were merely resurrected villagers and knights, are now dressed in uniforms. Did uniforms come from the prince? When did he do that? What about the necromancer dude? Was he the one who outfitted them? Where'd he get the stuff for that? JC Penney? I guess we'll never know. It is revealed here during this completely not spontaneous action scene, at long last, that the Fury have a weakness.
Take their heads! And let's cut off their heads and be done with it! So that's how we kill them. Search the building for weapons.
I mean, this might have been good to know in the last movie, especially during the final fight, but you know, as the primary enemies of this movie, maybe the weakness will come into play as they escape danger, risk life and honor to save those they care for, and not spend 65% of the film in a location the Fury are not present in. That would be a big waste of time, and I dare say it may even be stupid. After clearing out the Fury for the time being, our heroes shack up in an abandoned house for the night, where they heal their wounds, exposit more things we already knew, and talk about the magic of dragon eggs.
There is power in the eggs of dragons.
No good ever came from using magic.
It must have something to do with the Fury Bloods. Or maybe he's trying to raise a dragon army.
That would make him incredibly powerful. No one has ever enslaved a dragon.
How does the Kotori woman know this? Why didn't the other Kotori know this? It's mentioned a little later on in this scene how far away the dragons are in the creatively labeled Jagged Mountains, and how mysterious the dragon species is as a whole.
No one's ever found a dragon's egg before.
The dragons are believed to live in the Jagged Mountains. Beyond the volcanoes and rivers of lava, they are impossible to cross by man, and the mountain's too treacherous to climb.
So if no one knows much about dragons, why do they? Why do their eggs have magical abilities? How much power does a single egg contain? Why do they contain magic at all? Are dragons magical? How are they magical? How does that work? Does Princess Elizabeth, to hide from potential enemies, changes out of her noble green clothes into the bright white silk ones she found in the farming village. Sir Darius stares at his love when he's suddenly cock-blocked by Sir Strunk. After suffering from a terrible case of blue balls, he goes outside to clear out something more than his head.
Yeah, boy.
Now you might be thinking, hey, that's just a day shot with a blue filter over it. And you're right, it is. Now listen, I know filming can be hard, especially if you need night shots or you're filming in low light conditions. But I'd take the more rough night for night shots over the distractingly obvious day for night shots. But there might be a reason for this, and it's a bit scandalous. While doing research for the Dragon Kingdom, I came across various comments made by people who watched and reviewed this movie regarding this village location. Supposedly, and I'm really going to emphasize the supposedly here, Simon Wells and his crew snuck early in the morning into this heritage site to film without their permission. If there's one thing I try to pride myself in, it's doing research for projects. And of course, it's good to keep in mind these people didn't cite any sources, provide any specific credible attributions or anything, so keep that in mind as I go on here. I attempted to look for something credible to back up these statements, a news article or maybe some quotes by the site owners, a bit of commentary from one of the production crew, anything really. Sadly, I didn't find anything about them sneaking into the site, but several people in different places noted that it happened, which is why this interested me so much. Listen, as I said before, I know filming can be hard, and getting locations and permission can be a pain in the butt. I know. So if this is true, get permission, or find another way to film the scene. If it isn't true, well, these scenes still aren't that great, so there's that for you. Yeah. Sir Darius, alone with his thoughts and the cool night air, uses this time to ponder how he and the princess will continue their relationship outside of this adventure. Will the king approve? Will his feelings compromise the vows he made to the kingdom? Will they... Oh, it's another action... Wait, it's not another action scene? Is he going to tell his friends? Is the Fury's presence in the village worth talking about in the morning? Does that fight even play some sort of role in the next scene?
Nope.
After restocking their supplies and suffering minor amnesia about what happened the last night, our heroes encounter some familiar faces. I mean, you got the whole gang here. There's the innkeeper, long hair guy, red hair guy, and this Berkeley student? Okay. And Spear Guy! Fuck yeah, Spear Guy! But their reunion is cut short as the dragon swoops in for its egg, and Sir Darius hands it over. Feeling so brave, he doesn't even bother to look at it directly. The dragon takes its egg and flies away, and of course, no additional connections, discoveries, or information was gained. Okay, alright. The group decides their plan going forward is to take the refugees and princess to the northern castle to warn the king, stop the fury, and save the day. However, it seems the random open field they hope to cross is guarded by a line of fury. Stumped, they decide to pull a strategic maneuver that makes Sun Tzu himself baffled with its genius. That's right, turning around and staying in the village they just came from. You couldn't go around them? There's literally no other way you could go. Gee, having a map as a frame of reference would sure be nice right about now. Oh well. Though with their options exhausted, the group has one last plan left up their sleeves.
What is the best way to get to the castle?
We go through the Dark Kingdom.
The Dark Kingdom is an evil place.
No one of sane mind has ventured into that land.
It's the most direct route. The Fury are closing in. We have no choice.
Yes, rather than going around the army, sneaking past them with your rather small party of people, or causing a distraction to ward off the Fury, you'd rather go through the cursed land of horrible, nightmarish monsters from which no one alive has exited before, with the only noble outside of the king who can stop Fabian. Yeah, sounds perfectly logical to me. Since they've collectively decided to not go around the Fury who were
closing in,
they send the peasants to warn the Armada. Yes, that's the thing now. While the knights and the Kotori make their way for the Dark Kingdom. Next, we cut to Germany. The Northern Castle, where the king, played by Mike Mitchell, visits his sick wife and speaks to his son amongst ye old bookshelf security alarms. And that's the scene. Seriously, it's kind of fucked. The king just sort of broods, enters this room, asks his son where his daughter is, and it cuts away before anything meaningful can take place. It even looks like Fabian might have an answer on his lips, but tarnishing this scene with stupid things like conflict and drama would engage the audience too much, and we can't have that now. Later, a bird from Birdemic flies through the sky, delivering a message, I guess, to a group of Kotori warriors. Through means I do not understand, the hawk conveys where the group is to the warriors, who set off to find their sisters. I like how the Kotori are just squatting in some field somewhere with their weapons drawn, like a Bethesda game character. Come on now. There's no enemies around you. You're not in combat. As the day comes to a close, our heroes find a patch of random ground to call camp, where Elizabeth tells them she wants to learn how to fight. And yep, it's time for a training montage! Oh boy! Swing that tree, do them moves. Will any of these techniques come into play? Will Elizabeth take this single evening of training and use her unique skills to contribute to the group? Find out now, because the answer is no. After waking from a dream which doesn't allude to anything, Sir Darius attempts to display emotion toward Elizabeth.
Sirens. Fishy. So good.
The problem with this movie is there's no chemistry between, well, any of the characters. Sir Stronk is about the only person in the movie who has a personality, and the only reason for that is because he's an actual actor who's been in good media. Because the romance is so flat and impersonal, and the fact it doesn't help motivate or work alongside the conflict at all, makes it feel like this scene is taking up space. I've been rewatching Game of Thrones recently before it, got terrible. McQueen! But anyway, I really like the way they use romance in the show, as it helps build relationships and conflicts between characters. Romance and love are some of the most vital elements as to why the Red Wedding happened to begin with. A major part of Robert's rebellion, the war prior to the series, is founded on Robert's love for Lyanna Stark. If you're going to include a romance story, especially one stretched out across multiple movies, it needs to play some sort of role in the conflict or decision-making process of the characters. While there's no right way to do romance, romance is like any aspect of storytelling and must be used to develop, move, or impact the story, even if it is to a smaller degree. All the romance does in this movie, along with many other scenes we're about to see, is that it takes up precious time in a 1 hour and 30-minute movie, which won't even do anything with these romance scenes. But then again, why do I expect anything of quality from this film? After Elizabeth is done doing the robot, we're given a brief scene of the dragon returning home to the land of Shutterstock, which thankfully didn't cost as much as the shots in the last movie did. You see, this scene is important because it's the last time you will see a dragon in a film called Dragon Kingdom until the very last scene. Where dragons once played at least a minor role in the last film, they're virtually non-existent in this one. And this is only a tip of a greater problem with the movie. One of the more grievous sins of this film is it adds a multitude of scenes, characters, and plot lines which do little and go nowhere. Hundreds, if not thousands of dollars, at least I assume, went into animating this scene, and it doesn't even serve the story in any kind of meaningful way. Hell, they had to slow down and reverse this shot of a cave in Romania so the dragon could seem like it was naturally flying toward it. It's hard, it truly is, to say your films had the backing of the people who made this. Also make this. VFX wizards. When it comes to computer wizardry, what you got here is a lot less Merlin and a lot more Nigel Planter. After our heroes arrive at the border of the Dark Kingdom, we cut to Prince Fabian speaking to a guard about his plans to overthrow his father and seize the castle for his own.
Do you think the king suspects anything is amiss?
It's possible, my lord.
Possible? Instruct the Magister to have our furies ready to stand outside the castle gates. We must ensure that my dear sister and her beloved knights are finished.
Are you telling me he's actually going to be evil and dispatch minions to take care of his sister and the knights? Hey, wait a minute. Are you telling me he could contact the Magister the entire time? Why did he need to flee the castle? Why couldn't he have murdered her with the Fury? Sent her into a trap, something. Why did he leave all the other eggs when he knows they're important to the Magister's magic? More importantly, why are these guards even helping Fabian? I thought many of the soldiers, knights, and citizens liked their king, so why are they all of a sudden siding with Prince Hamelot? Is he blackmailing the guards, holding their loved ones hostage, bribing them with money? What has he done to earn their respect or fear? If the guards know about him in the Fury, why don't whisperings of this get loose? Give me a moment. Give me a moment. Looks like I'm gonna need a few more shots. Hold on. We cut back to... Wait, they're still at the border? Okay. Anyway, a little later, the group enters the Dark Kingdom, while the Kotori leave a message for their sisters to find them. However, after traveling through the Dark Kingdom, they seem to find signs that they are not alone. Cautiously, our heroes continue their trek through the woods. But before the monster, which I shit you not is called the Quatch, can get a chance to kill our heroes, a bigger monster roars and scares it away.
There's always a bigger fish.
Oh God, sparks! We open to the next scene at the Magister's Keep, which I still have no clue where it is, but whatever. There, a green screen Magister who looks about as murky as a career politician's history tells zombie Chad Thomas and James to go find the knights in the Dark Kingdom. Only it seems as though the Fury aren't the only ones after our heroes. For lo, Spear Guy has been following them. Fuck yeah, Spear Guy! As he finally arrives at the Dark Kingdom. If there's one thing the last movie didn't have enough of, it was scenes with Spear Guy. What role will he fill in the story? What skills could he possess which would enhance the dynamic between our main heroes? Surely the writers would not place Spear Guy, of all people, in the film unless there was some great evil to destroy, for who alone could? Guess you'll just have to find out here in a little bit. Back at the Northern Castle, the king, reasonably enough, has been getting the inkling his son hasn't been completely honest with him.
There is something you are not telling me.
As far as I'm aware, the castle is intact.
And why would the castle not be intact?
But before we can actually get a suspenseful scene, we cut to the Dark Kingdom, where our heroes continue to walk until they run into a rock monster. That's okay, he's cool. And that ends that scene. Then we cut back to Spear Guy. Fuck yeah! As he continues his meandering quest to help the knights, when he comes upon the corpse of a monster. And that ends that scene. Again. Cutting back to the castle, Favy makes plans to take the place within the next 2 days. Wait, we're already back at the castle? But it's only been 3 minutes. Oh my god, do I have to talk about this too? Alright, well, might as well, I guess. One of the biggest issues with this movie, and one of the chief reasons for my splitting headaches while making this, is that the jump from one storyline to the next are so brief and detached from what's going on, it makes the pacing feel either incredibly slow or more choppy than one of those Asian street vendors chopping the shit out of food. Some scenes don't feel entirely complete, their emotional beats and importance is never fully realized, and in the span of a single minute you can go from a scene at the Dark Kingdom to the Northern Castle to Spear Guy to the Fury and then to someone else. Come on, Simon, I thought you knew better than this.
It's okay when you're making a film, when you're editing, to take your time to, let the shots build, let the drama build. And then when something dramatic happens, it makes it more exciting. I think if you make a film that's go, 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 go all the time, then it can be too much.
One important aspect of filmmaking is that each scene should be informed by the last scene, and then the next scene should carry on what the last one did. If new storylines are started, they should begin planting the seeds for the next scene featuring those characters. This is how you further conflicts, convey information, and drive the plot forward. By cutting Dragon Kingdom in this way, you've essentially created the $15.99 equivalent of a throbbing migraine. Editing and writing the film this way doesn't make the pacing faster or the action more tense. It only makes it rushed and annoying. If the film's writers, and by extension Simon Wells, wanted these scenes to be more fleshed out, he should have had them all be connected in some way. Have Fabian directly communicate with the Fury, that way he plays a role in creating obstacles for our heroes. Give Spear Guy a personal motive that makes sense, or some useful information so he can help the knights while traveling through the Dark Kingdom. Hell, in this movie it's set up that Spear Guy wants to help the knights and prove himself to them.
I can help. I can become a knight.
But just in the last movie, he was the only one who seemed deeply suspicious and spiteful towards them. So not even that makes sense as it is. But sadly, the nightmare isn't over yet, so hold on, folks. Back at the Dark Kingdom, in the ravine of graffiti carvings, our heroes seem to be watched.
seen at least 2 of them. There.
As this Katori woman gets pulled off to Carnival, and another action sequence happens, yeah, it's about as compelling as the last film's action sequences, unfortunately. And look, Elizabeth does something, kind of. Well, anyway, as the battle seems to be over next to ye olde asphalt road, a Hell Knight from Doom shows up to fight. Interestingly enough, how you design your creatures actually tells a story on its own. It sets up a history, a biology, and often those things influence the cultures of those creatures or beings. In this, they decided to just find whatever monster outfit they could find online and pour it all together and just say it's good. It's not setting up a world. It's not telling a story. It'd be one thing if they're all lizard men, or if they were all related in some way, if there's a common design motif that binded all these creatures together. But no, it's just a menagerie of cheap Spirit Halloween costumes. Well, I suppose it's not so cheap, considering they spent almost $600 on some masks. Yep. Money well spent. And of course, the $600 masks look nothing like the Hot Topic fraternity guy or the crudely sculpted Chernobyl natives around him. Anyway, they managed to defeat the demon. However, Zuckerberg, Lord of the Dark Kingdom, has felt a disturbance in the algorithm. But a little later, the knights are ambushed by Hot Topic Guy and are taken to Brazil to meet Mark Zuckerberg, also known as Lord Rennick. The Chads finally arrive at the Dark Kingdom, where they encounter Spear Guy. But of course, Spear Guy is too clever for them, and they seem to pass him by without knowing he's there because he's Spear Guy. Later, our heroes are brought before Lord Zuckerberg in his Silicon Valley bungalow, where the Lizard Lord elicits his evil reptilian law upon them.
To pass through here is death.
We did not know of the laws of your land, and there was none to ask. Please just let us pass.
You slain many of my people and somehow lived to enter my chamber. Undare to tell me to let you pass.
We didn't mean...
Silence! Strip them of their armor. Take them away.
I like how the Dark Kingdom is filled with
abhorrent abominations of creatures.
You know, with rock monsters, demons, goths, and now I guess beautiful human women. You know, I'm okay with this. However, we cut back to the Katori where some bees attack them. Are we going to know what those are? No? Oh, alright then. As they leave behind one of their sisters, we cut back to the Chads, who fight their way through the Facebook bots until they reach Zuckerberg. There, the Chads and the Necromancer by extension strike a deal.
Richard, my son, I do not want to invade your home. I know you have them. Our desires are the same.
You want the princess and these knights dead?
I do.
And she is the princess of the Light Kingdom.
The princess of Zelda.
Very well. They will die by my hand as and when I decide.
Then we have an agreement.
Fetch the prisoners. Take them to the arena.
You know, one of the things that's kind of screwed up about this scene is that Darius and Strunk do absolutely nothing at the sight of their fallen brothers, now resurrected and draped in the enemy's uniforms, just sort of being pranced around before them by dark, evil magic. Although, considering how Sir Darius has treated his fallen brothers before, I suppose it makes sense. Don't worry, Thomas, you're not invisible to me. As the battle for the kingdom begins. And they take on Zuckerberg's finest by punching this dude, a monster decked out in leather, scaled mail, and plate armor in the chest, despite those punches hitting those multiple layers of armor, because armor's only purpose is to look cool, I guess. The Katori woman kills this creature, I think his name is like Big Hongalongalgus or something, I don't know, and then takes out Taserface with a mace. Then the Minotaur and MC Hammerpants comes out to fight Darius one-on-one. As it seems the battle isn't going anywhere, Zuckerberg allows a single knife to enter the arena. Using this knife, Darius gets the upper hand on the cowman, while not suffering any major wounds which would elicit a negative outcome. After all, we can't have Darius suffering during the climax. That would be interesting. I love how he just straight up kites this creature like a guy in Dark Souls, and then he punches the creature despite it being clearly 5 feet away from him. However, as Darius takes on Zuckerberg using his magic powers, which heal wounds, he hasn't sustained yet. It seems the battle is lost, but the Dragon Tooth, at long last, comes into play. What? Are you telling me a promise made at the start was lived up to in the end? Good job, movie. You did something a good movie should. Here's, I don't know, amount of gold stars. I didn't expect you to get this far, so I don't know, here's a Pizza Hut coupon. But by virtue of being the protagonist, Darius defeats Reddick, and standing victoriously over his scaly opponent, demands his friend's freedom. But then, before the deal can be carried out, the Kotori show up to ruin it. I like how the Hot Topic dude is just standing there like, what's going on, guys? These people weren't invited. Also, a bunch of stupid stuff happens. Like, the Kotori leader is all upset with her sisters because they went on a quest with the knights.
We've searched for you on your unsanctioned quest. You betrayed us for these knights. Now you must die!
Like, she's not even gonna ask why? Nothing? She's just like, how dare you make choices on your own given the current events you've experienced? Die! And then, not surprisingly, after the Kotori woman explains herself to the leader,
I do not betray Kotori. These knights saved our lives! Fight me, or fight with us.
oh, I see. Yeah, honest mistake. That was the fucking point of the conflict. Okay. After reusing fight scene footage and Spear Guy makes a kill. Fuck yeah, Spear Guy. The Rock shows up to stop the fighting. Not sure how he knew that was going on, but okay. Once the group gets talking, everyone agrees Fabian and the Magister are tonight's biggest losers and agree to an alliance, setting up some stuff for the next movie. We then cut back to the Northern Castle where Fabian has imprisoned the king and where in one day the Fury Wolf surrounded the castle. Rather than having a jail or, a cell or something to put the king in, they just found this empty room with ye old electrical candles covering ye old power outlets. But, yeah, who needs dungeons? Wow, the kingdom is in ruins. The king has been, jailed, I guess. The Armada has been summoned, and now all the major players important to the next story are in one place, the Northern Castle, where in the sequel we'll get more, nope, the dragon comes back and destroys it, and it kills everybody inside, and that's the movie. Oh god, do I still have a pulse? Yeah, I do. Damn. Outside of the terrible acting, choppy editing, and characters so flat, food coloring and water has more chemistry to it, and all that stuff. One of the biggest problems with this movie is it actually could have been a low-end, mediocre film. Unlike Knights of the Damned, this film had a simple plot. Basically, they just needed to escort the princess from point A to point B. The rest of the story is about filling in the blanks and connecting the dots. Because the plot is so straightforward, you could have spent that time working on the character arcs and the conflict or world building. For instance, how does seeing Thomas as a Fury slave make the knights feel? How does the fact a knight loving the princess affect the current situation? Does it allude to conflicts they'll have in the future? Yeah, well, probably not. I've read a lot of reviews of this movie, and one thing many people don't seem to bring up is how much of a power fantasy this film is for Ben Lloyd Holmes. For some context, Ben Holmes is one of the head writers and story leads for this film and the last one, and both films feel like a big power fantasy for him. For some clarification, a power fantasy is basically wish fulfillment or escapism for someone, typically those who feel powerless or weak, where the person places themselves or someone representing them in a story with great powers, respect, and all that stuff they don't have much of in real life. However, this is not one of those exceptions. I mean, one of the lead writers and producers of the story just so happens to be the lead character, who is widely respected and who is a great warrior. Seems to get through each battle either on top or with ease despite the impossibility of the given situation. Just look at the ending battle for Knights of the Damned for reference. Gets together with the princess despite not displaying any sort of chemistry, interests, or sharing any kind of meaningful history together. In fact, there's hardly a time where Sir Darius Atreus ever makes a choice which negatively affects the story. I mean, he's already got the personality of a mothball, but this is only made worse by the fact that he doesn't have any sort of flaws, small or otherwise. It just strikes me as kind of Gary Stewish that Ben Holmes' character just so happens to get all the greatest stuff in the story, like the girl, the title, the skills, the lack of a personality, you know, all that stuff. Though I suppose when your entire cast of characters have personalities as bland as a dish of communion wafers, at least he fits right in with the rest of them. But again, I digress. So that's Dragon Kingdom, everyone. Good God, was this a film to get through. As mentioned before, the movie is plagued with tons of small issues, and though the story is more streamlined and the setting more interesting than the last movies, it still takes a good several dozen steps back when it comes to quality filmmaking. Plot lines go nowhere, characters simply walk around and do jack all. I love Spear Guy, but his scenes consist of him walking around, poking some dead stuff, taking credit for a scene that already happened, and meeting the Katori. That's 10 minutes of a 90-minute movie spent on this story alone, when the core stuff at the castle and in the Dark Kingdom should be the primary focus. Simon Wells got to film on an actual ship so he could pad out the refugee storyline that was so thrown together you don't even get to see the innkeeper's death.
The kingdom is overrun with fury.
Fury? Those are just stories.
No, they're real. They killed my daughter and my husband.
Oh, but these are sowing the seeds for stuff that's supposed to happen in the next film,
Simon Wells might say. No, just no. This is a low-budget fantasy movie, with its success hinging upon the reception and sales it makes. The money for sequels in this case is not guaranteed. So with that in mind, don't bait people with a sequel if you're not sure if you can secure the funding to continue the story. Every film should stand out on its own. So in the event another film can't be made, at the very least you've provided a full film experience for the audience. I mean, that's what George Lucas did with the original Star Wars trilogy. For example, even if you don't watch any of the other Star Wars movies outside of A New Hope, the first film is a wonderfully paced, self-contained story because George Lucas didn't know if it would be successful enough to warrant sequels. But it is what it is, I guess. Plus, with the whole pandemic thing and half the world on fire, it's unlikely this film will get another installment, meaning none of the stuff that you've set up here will ever get followed through in the end. And you know, that might actually be a good thing. It means less headaches for everyone, so at least that's a plus. Anyway, if you enjoyed this review, please leave a like. It helps support the channel, and if you like this sort of content, why not subscribe as well? I give Dragon Kingdom a 2.5 out of 10.